Orale! Bienvenidos and welcome to the Familia FFB podcast. This is your host, Jorge Martin. Familia, do you hear that barking? Do you hear that barking? We're going to Dawg Pound, Familia. We're going Dawg Pound. We're going to Cleveland Browns. Our amigo Emmett Golden joining us for the third year in a row from ESPN Cleveland. He's our boots on the ground. Mi amigo, welcome in. Bienvenidos. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for having me. You know, I love talking Browns, so any chance I get, I'm always glad to jump on with you.
Awesome, mi amigo. This is always a fun chat. Always a fun chat with one of the best fan bases out there. And I'm not sucking up to you guys just so you can watch.
Right.
But please watch.
Yes.
And speaking of watch, make sure you're following Familia FFB on YouTube. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, get that great content. We got and you know what? I've got the playlist built out with all stacked up, all of the NFL insiders like Emmett that have joined in. And also want to make sure you're going to underdogfantasy.com. Use that promo code Familia. You get matched up to the first $250 of your first deposit. Get into those best ball drafts, Familia. You might be drafting against me. Come on, let's go. Oh, mi amigo, what a crazy 2023 season. I mean, one of the best defenses in ever.
Yeah.
You know, one of the best defenses in recent memory. Very uneven play with Deshaun Watson before he got hurt, and then Joe Flacco went local, in the playoffs. I think he won some people some money in fantasy for picking him up late. Let's talk about Deshaun. It really starts with him. That so much invested in him. Coming off, first off, status of the shoulder. You come back from the shoulder surgery. If we could start there.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's all good. You know,
Yeah.
during mini camps and OTAs, he didn't throw every day, but I think he threw every other day, or some to that effect. But he was active. He was in 7-on-7s. The Browns have said they feel like he's ahead of schedule and that they're not concerned at all. I talked to Andrew Berry last month, and he's said no concerns about the shoulder at all. There was even a video of Deshaun working out and doing some like heavy activity with the shoulder. So it looks like that's fine, that the surgery was a success and his rehab has gone well. So, the Browns are saying, and it certainly looks that way when we see him on the field, that the shoulder's good and he'll be ready to go at the start of the season.
Well, let's go to the football side of it, because it wasn't always pretty. And it just, I mean, especially for the people who were Sean just be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL when he was with Houston. Came in and it was very uneven play. And I remember last year we were talking about the fact that this was one thing that stuck with me so much about last year when there was talk of no passes hit the ground. Mm-hmm. And you even said we've never seen that here.
Right.
But the play was so uneven. What kind of coming off the injury, how can we expect to see Deshaun kind of like take a forward progression to the guy he was, and maybe we see some of the kind of play, dialing up some of the plays from the Joe Flacco times?
Well, I can tell you this Browns offseason, the main focus was supporting Deshaun Watson.
Right.
So much so they went and got a new offensive coordinator in Ken Dorsey. And there's a lot of speculation that Ken Dorsey will call the plays due to the success he's had with Cam Newton and Josh Allen. And everything I hear is the offense is got a lot of throwing, a lot of spread stuff. Really giving him an opportunity to kind of, be a video game player, almost like he was when he was with the Houston Texans. You bring in Jeudy. The offensive line is always great. And then they even, they brought in a guy like Nyheim Hines, who obviously, is overcoming an injury, but much more of a pass catcher out of the backfield. So they've done everything they can to support Deshaun Watson and to make sure that he has every tool that he needs to be successful. I mean, Kevin Stefanski is a great play caller, and he's shown he can do wonders with just about anybody. We talk about Joe Flacco. He had Flacco looking amazing, even with some rookies that weren't very good. He was able to find a way to win games with them. And for him to step back and kind of put his ego aside and say, no, we're going to bring in Ken Dorsey because I believe he understands that type of quarterback maybe a little bit better than Kevin Stefanski does. They're giving him all the tools, so at this point, it's kind of just up to Deshaun, because the Browns have supported him 1,000% this offseason, because they know, if they're going to have an opportunity to win a Super Bowl at all, they're going to need Deshaun Watson. Everything else is fine. Everything else, this is a great roster, but if they want to be a Super Bowl contender, a lot of that falls on Deshaun Watson's shoulders, no pun intended. But he has everything he needs. It's kind of up to him this season.
Where do you see, the greatest room for growth and improvement going into this season? What is most needed, just from a pure football standpoint, because we'll extrapolate the fantasy side from it.
Yeah, for me, just protecting the ball.
Right.
I think, and Deshaun's right. I think he believes in his talent so much that if he's got a guy hanging off of him, he believes he can still make a play. And sometimes he takes bad sacks, and sometimes he throws balls up for grabs because he believes like, hey, I can make a play. And I think sometimes really just him understanding a sack is a lot better than an interception. At least you can punt. And I think that's kind of where I'd like to see some growth from him this season. And so, sometimes he does make some crazy plays in those situations. So it's kind of hard to say, don't do that, because many times you're like, no. Oh, great. First down. I think it's really kind of identifying opportunities when not to take the chances and just kind of, eat the ball and live to play another play.
Though we would like to see some of the YOLO balls from Flacco.
Oh, yeah.
That was fun. That was fun. Wouldn't it be fun to see a few of those?
Yeah, we love those. Jump up for grabs, go get it.
I will tell you, one of the best games of the year, and we could go into the receivers on this one. Amari Cooper, that one game before he got hurt, where he went for like 200 or well over 200 yards.
Yeah,
he Thank you, Amari Cooper. You helped me got me into some championship games. The Amari, I mean, I'm going to assume the contract situation gets figured out, because they always seem to, the NFL loves deadlines, owners love deadlines, then the players love deadlines. So, the season, I figured it'll get done. Could we expect more of the same of Amari Cooper? And can you give me an idea of the pecking order behind him, like Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore? Yes. And you could throw in David Njoku in there if you want.
Oh, absolutely. So, Amari Cooper is as dependable and consistent as they come. So I expect him to be over 1,000 yards like, he's been the past couple years. I expect no drop off at all from Amari, and hopefully he'll be happy because he'll have a new contract and he'll feel, good when the season starts. After that, I actually think it goes Amari Cooper, David Njoku, Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore. Yeah, that's where I think.
Thank you.
Goes. Yes. A lot of, when you just look at the receivers, it's Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy, but David Njoku is a huge piece of this offense. And I think he'll get, maybe not just as many targets as Amari Cooper, but very, very close, because he achieved kind of what we all thought David Njoku could be when the Browns drafted him. And it took a while for him to get there. And he grew up a lot. And we saw this guy play a game after burning himself, just a day before. And he's really become a leader. So with Nick Chubb kind of on the mend, David Njoku has kind of become the heart and soul of the Cleveland Browns. So, yeah, David will be a huge part of this passing offense this season.
Oh, fantastic. No, I love to hear that, because he is going, speaking of underdog drafts, there's kind of like a big 7 that ends with George Kittle, but he's like in that next group. Mm-hmm. And I've been waiting and grabbing him, because I'm like, I still think he's going to get over 100 targets. And yeah, I just keep hoping for Deshaun to go back, get close to being that guy that he was in Houston, and being able to get multiple receivers fed. Jerry Jeudy, how does Jerry Jeudy look to be fitting into the offense, or is it too early to tell until training camp?
It's a little too early to tell, because in minicamp, he didn't practice with the team. He kind of was off to the side. The team didn't disclose an injury. So, but you can't help but assume that, he was working through something. So we don't really know. We do know that the Browns have high expectations for him, and they believe that they can, get the guy that came out of Alabama. Obviously Jerry out there in Denver didn't have the best quarterback play, to understate it greatly.
You think?
So yeah. So they the Browns believe that, they have a number one receiver in Jerry Jeudy, and I expect him to get a lot of opportunities. We just haven't really been able to see him and how he looks with the, with the offense. At least during minicamp, we weren't able to see that.
No, okay, that's something that's going to be a storyline to keep an eye on, and just seeing that. I mean, we've got a sister podcast, brother contact, hermano contact podcast, the Injury Prone podcast that I co-host with Dr. Aaron Porras, and we keep an eye on injuries for NFL injuries specific to fantasy football. So yeah, that's gonna be one that we keep an eye on. So let's go to the running backs. I don't think there was an uglier injury last year than the one that Nick Chubb suffered. And one of my favorite running backs, just easily one of the best running backs in the NFL. He had to have 2 surgeries. The second surgery was in November, and a lot of times, from what I've learned, 9 months is the minimum before a guy. But with it being a complicated injury, you obviously look further out.
Right.
We're not looking at him to start on day one. So on day one of week 1 of the NFL season, if it's not him, can you give me an idea of like Jerome Ford, Deonta Foreman, who seems to get a new team every year and ends up being one of the best running backs on the team?
Yeah, that'll be something to keep an eye on during training camp. It really will. I mean, right now, Jerome Ford would be the guy, but I think they wanted to bring in some competition, and that's why they brought in Foreman. So your traditional running backs, it'll be a battle during training camp between those 2 guys. Now, Nyheim Hines is a guy that I'm very interested to see, because everything you hear especially from the players, is they're throwing it. So, he's probably the best pass catcher out of the backfield, out of all, the Browns running backs that they have. So he's a guy to keep an eye on and to see how they use him. But I expect, kind of a battle in training camp between Foreman and Ford, and really see who grabs that, traditional running back spot. It is Cleveland. You do have to run sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they won't totally abandon the run game, but I think in the short term, that's the battle, and we'll know more throughout, training camp. And then we're not really expecting Nick Chubb back until maybe November. And once he comes back, and hopefully earlier, but, everybody's being very cautious with this because, as you pointed out, very gruesome injury and in a long way to come back from rehabbing. But they say he's ahead of schedule, and who's going to doubt Nick Chubb? Who's going to doubt him?
I'm not.
Right. So when he comes back, I do expect, Nick to be a part of the offense, but that's much later in the season, and we'll see how effective he'll be, because they won't hand it to him 30 times coming off that injury, So in the short term, it'll really be a battle between Ford and Foreman to see who will be the, the bell cow, as I use that term loosely, because it sounds like they're going to throw quite a bit this year.
I love the sound of having to throw, because that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be fun. You mentioned the offensive line earlier. One of the better units in the NFL. Losing Bill Callahan though, that's gonna be tough. But it is. I mean, this is still expected to be one of the better units in the NFL, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Joe Bitonio, he's an all-pro. Wyatt Teller is definitely a top-tier guard. And then, at right tackle, Jack Conklin, who's been great but very injury-prone and, has had a difficult time getting on the field. He recently was replaced by a young man they drafted out of Ohio State, whose name is escaping me right now. Dawand Jones. There it is. Yeah, Dawand Jones. Like, Dawand Jones was very, very impressive in Conklin's absence. I mean, he was absolutely amazing. So that's a good problem to have. They actually have two guys at right tackle that can play at a high level. Jed Wills Jr. on the left side dealt with some injuries last year. So I'd say left tackle is probably more of a concern than right. And maybe you can have Dawand Jones flip, to the left side. So they have some depth on the offensive line as well. That's Bill Callahan, losing Bill Callahan is huge. But I think the area he was huge in was when a guy did go down with an injury, he was able to coach the next guy up. Even if you never heard of this guy before and they literally grabbed someone off the street, Bill Callahan would get that guy ready to perform at a decent level. That's where it's going to hurt. But as a starting unit, I'd put them toe-to-toe with any other offensive line in the NFL.
Well, I'm going to tee you up on another unit that's among the best in the NFL, the defense. I mean, this was a team that was great against the run, great against the pass, suffered some injuries late in the season. So there was some vulnerability there. But I mean, is this still shaping up as one of the best, two-way offenses in the NFL?
Yeah, I expect the defense to actually improve this season. They have more depth on the interior of the defensive line. Obviously, they get the best edge rusher, in the world in Myles Garrett. They got a great compliment to him on the other side. But, I mean, there are two guys that I think are ready for breakout years, and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is one of them. The way he played in that playoff game where the defense really actually struggled. It was weird, to see how great this defense has been all year, and they had a really tough time against the Texans. But JOK was an animal. He was all over the place making plays. So we're really expecting him to take a big leap this year. And then Grant Delpit at the safety position. Before Grant got hurt last year, he was playing at a Pro Bowl level. So a secondary that's really good with obviously Denzel Ward as the headliner, but MJ Emerson, honestly, in my opinion, one of the most underrated corners in the NFL. He's not too far behind, Denzel in ability. And then your third corner is Greg Newsome, who's a first-round pick, and also really good as well. Juan Thornhill kind of rounds out that secondary. So the Browns defense should be even better this year, and that's scary. But for Browns fans, it's amazing.
No, it's amazing, and so hopefully when they're throwing, that means they get ahead. They get ahead, and
yes,
with a lot of throwing, then they'll let the defense just kind of take over. So that's awesome. That Emmett, you always fill up my note. Any back to the offensive side, any sleeper I need to keep an eye on?
Oh, that's I'm interested in Elijah Moore. Because I thought early last season, way too many gimmick gadget plays with Elijah Moore. So he had a slow start to the season. Once they just lined him up in the slot and let him run routes, he really took off in the second half. Now, Joe Flacco was part of that. You got to look at that variable as well. But I think Elijah Moore, he will be the third receiver for sure. But I think he is a guy that, as long as they don't try to get too fancy and cute with him, I think he could be a really good, slot guy for this offense that they're going to throw a lot. So there's going to be targets for everybody going around.
Oh, that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be fun. I did. I'm glad you brought him up. When I asked the sleeper question, it was specifically about. I was gonna. If you didn't answer Elijah Moore, I was gonna ask about him. So a little mind meld between here and Cleveland, LA and Cleveland. So gotta love it. Yeah, you go. Oh man, hey, I can never let you off without a fun Mexican food take. I know you just got back from vacation. So anywhere did you partake of Mexican food? Any particular favorites on the road?
I actually didn't, and I'm upset about it because I heard there's like this world famous taco place in Las Vegas, and the ripping and running, we didn't get to it. And I love, who doesn't love a good taco, right?
Oh
Who
man.
doesn't love that? So, we had some dinners with friends that we had to go to. So you look up, and next thing you know, you're like, I didn't get to make it there. So we had a good time. No Mexican food, unfortunately. But that is definitely on the list to make sure that we get that done next time we go out there, because we go once a year, and this is like on a must go to place that I've heard. Is the name kind of escapes me, but everybody rates it really, really high. And I've even seen like YouTube videos, and I've seen it on like diners, drive-ins, and dives and stuff. So they got a great place out there in Vegas. I gotta hit up next time.
Oh, then you do well. Anything recent? Is there any place you want to give a shout out? Hopefully they'll give you a free lunch.
Not right now. Actually, Barrio. There's a spot here, locally, Barrio, which is amazing. It's so good. They have it's Coca-Cola marinated steak in their
Oh my,
yes.
that sounds
Yes.
amazing.
Yes, yeah. They marinate their steak for their steak tacos in Coca-Cola, believe it or not. And it might sound a little weird initially, but it tastes amazing. So shout out to Barrio here in Cleveland.
That's fantastic. I mean, my mom marinates in beer.
Oh, I
But
love that.
that's yeah, it's called carne borracha, drunk meat. So
Okay.
yeah, it's not it's one of the great meals, one of the great meals. Yeah, Mama Martin, thank you for the carne borracha. I'll be putting my order pretty soon. But
Yeah.
but with Coca-Cola, that's fantastic. Oh
Yeah.
man, I got to find a YouTube video on that
Yep.
place or something to
Yeah,
see that.
it's amazing. It's amazing when you have it. It's like I said, it sounds weird at first. You're like marinated in Coca-Cola, but nah, it's some good stuff.
Oh man. Well, mi amigo, let's before I let you go, feel free. Let's pump any and everything you got coming up.
All right. Well, it's a lot because I'm
Yeah.
always on the radio, obviously, hosting the next level on ESPN Cleveland. You can always stream that on the ESPN app. I do game night on ESPN Radio, 10 p.m., 1 a.m. Eastern. So on the West Coast, it's a little earlier for everybody. That's with me and Q Myers on Monday through Wednesday, and then Hammer and Emmett, ESPN Radio, Saturday mornings, 10 p.m. 10 a.m. 1 p.m. Eastern time. So yeah, I'm all over the radio. Turn on ESPN Radio. I'm probably on it.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, actually, when I reached out to him, he was on the radio, and I was like, and he responded, I'm on the radio. I'm like, dude, don't respond. Respond later. I don't want to bother you with, don't let me bother you at work, mi amigo.
Man, I'd never return any messages if I waited till I was off the radio. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Familia, yes, ESPN Cleveland. Find our amigo Emmett Golden right there, and at eGoldie80 on Twitter and X. So as always, it's just a pleasure of a conversation with our amigo. And you're repping Thomas More. Give us a quick give him a quick shout out. Give him a quick shout out. Give your son a quick shout out.
Yeah, the Thomas More Saints. My son is an incoming freshman and we playing football for him. They're a Division II school in Kentucky, so super proud of him. Had a lot of adversity his senior year, was able to overcome it. And hey, me and his mom very, very proud of him. And you'll catch us in Kentucky on Saturdays, or watching our son play football.
Nicely done. Nicely done. Oh man. Oh well, when you find a good taco place in Kentucky, I want to know whatever their barbecue, their chicken, whatever they got, I want to hear about it. So, Familia, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Again, muchas gracias to our invitado Emmett, and also making sure you're following Familia FFB on YouTube. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. And if you go to Underdog Fantasy, use that promo code Familia when you do your initial deposit. Up to $250, you're going to get matched. Get in those best ball drafts, Familia. Draft, and let it go. It's like catch and, it's like fishing, catch and release, and then later on at the end of the season, you kind of count your money. So, again, Emmett, I so appreciate your time and your knowledge, Familia. Thank you for joining us. Always remember que todos somos familia. Salud.